All right, so looks like this is another one on mine. All good though. Like I said, I'm gonna be able to watch these in the future when my community reaches 10,000, 20,000 people, and I'll be able to look back on this and say, man, we come a long way. So today I'm gonna talk about a quick topic for Google Ads, right? I'm just gonna talk about one topic and then if no one else joins, I'm just gonna cut it off. So the topic is what to do when you're taking over accounts. So things that you need to watch out for, things that you need to take into account when you're taking over an existing account as well. So this means that it's a Google Ads account that has already been running. It already has probably some amount of data in it, whether it be clicks or impressions, if it doesn't have conversions, if it has conversion tracking, etc. Right. So a couple things I'm going to know. You should always, before you dive into this account or before you even take them on as a client, I mean, this goes for agency side, people hiring, not hiring, but agency side onboarding clients. And then if you're a freelancer, onboarding clients. If you don't have control over this, then, I mean, yeah, sometimes that's just going to happen on the agency side. They're just going to hand you clients and, you're not really going to have a say in it. They're just going to be like, yep, get these results. So, but the first thing you want to do, let's say if you had control over it, is you want to audit the account. Okay. You want to get a feel for the landscape. You want to understand what you're getting yourself involved with in terms of the account, right? So and the things you should be looking out for are any red flags. So you're going to have to also talk to the client, get an idea of their goals, and really nail down their goals, right? So if they and nail down their numbers first, see where they are in the account, and that's going to give you an idea for, hey, is this going to be achievable? Are their expectations correct? Because client management is probably even bigger than you knowing what to do in the account. Because if you take on a client that has a unrealistic expectation, I promise you it's not going to go well, right? If they have unrealistic expectations, it's not going to go well. And like I was mentioning yesterday, like most clients, of course they want results. That's why they hired you. And unfortunately, most of those companies are going to be coming to you when they're already in a bad position, right? So like some companies may be literally on the brink of dang near bankruptcy, or they may be on the brink of having to shut down the business if this doesn't work. So it's almost like you're their last cry of help. Now, of course, that's not always the case. And there's going to be other businesses that are doing well, but they're just like, hey, our Google Ads has been running. We haven't been getting really good results from it. We want to improve it, right? So you need to get an idea of what their expectation is. When are they looking to get results? If they are looking to get results immediately, if they're saying, hey, within the next 2 weeks, I need to see like 50%. I need you to 3x my return on ad spend in 2 weeks. Run for the freaking hills. Don't take on that client because it's not going to work out. Like, yes, you may identify some quick wins, but you are not a magician. You are not a psychic. You don't know what the ROAS is going to be after you make those changes. So you need to operate on a longer time period. So make sure that you have enough time to actually make the changes and get things working, right? So my minimum is always 90 days. Like if a client can't handle 90 days, then I don't want to deal with them. I don't want to take them on. It's going to be more of a headache than it is going to be profitable, right? So if you communicate with the client, see what their goals are in terms of KPIs. So let's say if it was an e-commerce account, understand what their profit margins are, right? Understand what they're looking for as far as a return on ad spend, and make sure that's the right number, because some companies, they're not factoring in other costs, such as like, oh yeah, I have my warehouse costs, they're not factoring in the budget of paying you, they're not factoring in the budget of other things, right? So like really nail down those numbers, find out what can they affordably pay in terms of ad spend, and what return on ad spend do they need to see in order to be profitable. And make sure you're also taking into account of all their other, they could be running other platforms, right? They could be doing other marketing. Of course, you're only going to have control over whatever platform you have. But if they're running other channels, I usually, in those cases, it's really good to see how much ad spend is being spent totally and how much revenue is being brought in. because that then most clients they care about their bank account. That's the thing. So like when you're tracking in-app, especially on Google Ads, it may show up as like hey, you're getting a 4x return on ad spend for Google Ads, right? But then you go back to the client with that and they're like, what are you talking about? We're not, you know what I'm saying? Like we're actually less profitable now than we were beforehand, right? And when you look in the account, hey, you could have been spending all your money on freaking brand terms, right? So like you need to actually understand their numbers, right? Try to understand their business better than them. That is real thing. Try to understand their numbers better than them, right? So that's number one. Like I said, understand the KPIs, understand their goals, and understand their expectations, right? That's kind of all in one. Understand the landscape is what I'm saying essentially, right? That's number one. Number two, now that you understand their goals, you know that the expectation is correctly set. They're going to give you that 90-day period. They have the budget to do so. I always say that if you don't have 90 days worth of cash to be able to set on fire in a trash can, don't spend it, right? Don't put it toward Google Ads because it could be a total loss. So if you can't afford to do that loss, there's a ton of other ways to get clients and leads that are at a cheaper cost than Google Ads, right? So that is always what I try to say to clients. Like, and I literally say that verbatim. If you cannot take 3 months worth of this cash flow, or 3 months worth of this cash that you're going to put toward this platform, light it on fire in the trash can. Don't do it. Right? Like don't try Google Ads or don't try PPC. And if they already are running, if I tell them the same thing, hey, over these next 90 days, I'm not a magician. I don't know what it's going to be. So I want to forewarn you, if you do not have the cash to spend over the next whatever the cash that they have allotted for the next 90 days, if you can't afford to lose that, like to literally not even break even, to maybe get a below break even point, don't do it. Right? If you can't afford it, don't do it. There's so many other ways to get clients and leads and sales, whatever they're looking to do. Right? So number one, they understand KPIs, expectation. I think I hammered that enough there. Number two, make sure to do a thorough audit of the account. So let's say that you're now moving forward with them, right? So of course you understood everything, cool, expectations set, boom. Now you're going to be you're like, hey, sometimes you may be offering this as for free, right? It's a great lead magnet. Hey, I'm going to offer you an audit for free. I do paid audits, me personally. So let's say it's a paid one. Boom, the money comes through. Okay, I'm going to take a thorough look at the account. During this audit, you want to look at everything, right? See what are they doing in terms of conversion tracking, right? Like you want to, for yourself, especially if you're new starting out, get a checklist, right? I recommend the Ed Leak checklist. If you can join his I think it's called the Forge or something like that, but he has a great checklist that essentially goes over everything that you need to double check on, right? It gives you the categories, it gives you everything, right? So get a checklist for yourself so that you don't miss anything while you're going over that audit, right? So thoroughly audit the account, see what is their account structure. Like the biggest needle movers that you're probably going to see in most account takeovers, for me at least, has always been conversion tracking. Conversion tracking is always is always a problem. Most people are using, for example, like GA4 imports, or they may just be using click to calls, and now their conversions column is like overly inflated, and they're like, hey, I've been getting a $50 CPA, when in reality it's like, no, man, you've probably gotten a like $120 CPA, something like that, right? So conversion tracking is always number one. I always see that as a big problem. Account structure is number two. That is always a big problem. Most people don't have like an actual strategy to their account, so they may just be setting up things, and they're just, let's say it was just somebody that just set up the account randomly, right? They could just be doing anything. They could be The account structure could just be terrible. They could be separating things out by desktop and mobile when they haven't even spent enough money to even see that difference, right? So they could just be doing a bunch of things and they may not have like an actual solid strategy for the account. So make sure that the account structure is correct, right? The next biggest thing that I see from there is usually keyword targeting. So most people are like, hey, I'm targeting this keyword, but they don't realize that that keyword is bringing in, right? And they may just use like a broad match keyword, and they're wondering why, hey, this is the keyword that I'm targeting. I always, this is an industry standard keyword. Why am I not converting? And in those cases, you could probably look at the search terms and see exactly why it's not converting. Hey, most of these terms that are coming in through this keyword are irrelevant, right? So analyze what they're targeting, right? So this also could be like a PMAX situation with keywords, but essentially the whole entire category of what are they targeting? That is another really big needle mover, right? And then you're gonna check on their settings. Okay. There's gonna be more after this. There's gonna be more things that you need to check on, but these are like the biggest four needle movers. Like you can just analyze these four things, and I can guarantee you those are like the lowest hanging fruits, right? So as far as their settings, what are they doing as far as, bidding strategies, right? Are they using target, return on ad spend when their uh, conversion tracking values are not even importing correctly, right? Like let's say it was a lead generation account that's trying to use value-based bidding and they're not even importing the conversions correctly, right? That's a red flag right there. So another one could be maybe they're only spending 15, maybe $20 a day, and they're only getting about 5 conversions a month, but yet they're trying to use maximize conversions. You're not going to be consistent, right? Like you're not going to have a consistent lead volume. Your CPAs might be all over the place, month to month, week to week. So look at what are they doing in terms of their settings, right? And that can even include like search partners, right? That's another like kind of targeting example. But those are the biggest four: conversion tracking, account structure, targeting, and their settings, right? Now, like I said, there's a lot of other things that you can look at inside the account, but those are probably the biggest four needle movers that you would be able to check on. And if they're making a wrong, if they're doing something wrong in those kind of fields, a change it's a low hanging fruit change. You could probably not instantly, but you'll be able to see results pretty faster. And I'm usually always looking for, okay, what can I keep and what can I cut out? Because this leads me into my kind of next rule for when you're taking over the account, right? So once they see the audit and they're like, God dang, you're an amazing, you're a Google Ads wizard. Let's work together. Boom. You guys signed the contract, you're working together. Now it's time to actually put in the work, right? So what most people, and this is exactly what I used to do, right? What I used to do when I got an account was I would make all my changes immediately, right off the bat, right? I would literally come into an account, and if I see, even though they've gotten conversions on a keyword that I felt like, oh, this was bringing in irrelevant terms, boom, I'm cutting it out. I'm putting all my new keywords, or maybe some of them were previous keywords. I'm putting in, if it's a PMAX campaign, I'm completely changing the account structure. They may have 5 different PMAX campaigns. I'm bringing it down to one new PMAX campaign or something like that, right? So I used to just come in and just boom, make all my changes. And then usually, see, the thing is, like, you want to try to get a win as soon as possible, especially within those first 30 days, because that's going to instill trust with the client. So instead of coming in and just boom, making a bunch of changes, make your changes slowly. Okay. Identify, okay, who are we targeting, right? Like those low hanging fruit situations, right? Conversion tracking. Oh, they're not properly, tracking the conversions. It's importing incorrectly. They don't have Google tag. That's an easy win. For example, if they're using a GA4 import and not the Google tag, if they were to use the Google tag versus the GA4 import, they're going to see an instant, probably 10 to 15% increase in the amount of conversions attributed to Google Ads. And that's because the Google Ads tag is just usually more accurate than the GA4 one. So that right there is a good is like an easy low hanging fruit situation, right? And let's say, for example, like the way I would do it, like let's say they're running automated bidding beforehand, you don't want to just instantly change that conversion tracking tag right over to the Google one if they're using GA4. You actually want to let that Google tag run in the background, especially if they didn't have it correctly configured or if they didn't have it at all. Let it run in the background for about 1 to 2 months and then switch it over. Okay. Because that way, like I said, you'll see that instant 10 to 15% uh, lift in attributed conversions. And then of course you can always report on that rather than reporting on the GA4 tag anyway. So it's like an easy win. So yeah, so you can do that first and foremost. But like I said, you're gonna want to ease into things. So that conversion tracking one is like an easy win, right? Then I'm gonna start to see, okay, what hasn't worked at all for these past 90 days up to 365 days. what hasn't worked, what has worked, and what can I cut out and start to consolidate, right? So I'm looking at three things. I'm looking at a couple of things. What has worked, what hasn't worked. I just blanked on the third. I'm just gonna probably edit this out, but what has worked, what hasn't worked, and what can I start to consolidate? Sorry, there we go. What has worked, what hasn't worked, and what can I start to consolidate are the three things that I'm looking for when I take over that account. So for the things that are working, perfect. What are those things? Is it specific campaigns? Is it specific keywords, asset groups? If it's a PMX campaign, what is already working that I can double down on? What isn't working? Number two, what isn't working that I can cut out? And then number three, what can I do to start to consolidate or at least make an effort or plans to consolidate in the future? Because like I said, you don't want to just jump in and just make a bunch of changes. So like let's take the example for number one, right? What is doing good? I'm usually looking at, okay, what if this is e-commerce, what products? What are their best selling products? If it's lead generation, what are the best keywords? What keywords are actually converting for the CPA that we're looking for that has at least more than three conversions would be the most ideal. Products, of course, more than three conversions, and what is actually meeting our return on ad spend goal, which is usually the case for e-commerce people, right? I'm identifying that. Once I see that, I then start to cut out what isn't working. Okay, I see that these products aren't working. Cool. I can exclude those. I mean, they've spent a good amount of money. They spent $500, haven't gotten any traction. Let's cut that out. Keywords. What keywords are working? Okay, this one's not hasn't has gotten $200, $300 worth of spend. Literally has not converted. Maybe it got one conversion, but it's at like a $500 CPA, which is way above our CPA cost, whatever it may be. Cut that out. Then number three, consolidate. Most people are probably going to have a bunch of campaigns or like a ton of ad groups and things like that. So like you can then identify, or they may even have like 500 keywords in one ad group or something like that, right? So those are the things that you want to look for where you can start to consolidate. So for example, my usual, like when I step in, my usual structure for e-commerce, right? And this is just kind of my usual one. Of course, it can vary from client to client, but usually what it is that I'm going to have a PMX campaign that's targeting their best sellers, right? So I'm going to identify their best sellers. Usually they already have a PMX campaign running. If they don't, then I'm probably going to start the PMX campaign later on. If they have just a standard shopping campaign, then I turn that standard shopping campaign into a best sellers campaign. I'm taking the best campaign out of everything that was working, and then I'm consolidating everything else that was working in the other campaigns into that one. So I'm seeing what are those best selling products and putting it all into there, right? So that's an example for e-commerce. For lead generation, I'm looking for the campaign that has gotten the best CPA, that has the keywords that have the best CPA. Starting to pause out the ones that are not performing, haven't reached the CPA goal, and then I'm gonna start consolidating, right? And then, like I said, you can even move kind of slower too. So you can see like, okay, there's 5 different campaigns. There's different keywords in each one. There's different products in each campaign. Let's just start to exclude out those, start to spend more money on the best-selling ones within those campaigns. And then later on, you can then consolidate into one if need be, or maybe two, or whatever the case may be for your actual account structure, right? So that is the thing. You want to move kind of not snail pace, but slow, but you want to gradually make your changes. Like, so you don't want to just come in there and just boom, just make a bunch of changes, and then it might just kill the account. So that's the biggest thing. And then I think my last tip for when you're taking over an account is from the client management aspect. So when you're taking over an account, right, you're gonna like I've talked about this before. I think actually on my previous Q&A call. Clients want to see results, man. It's as simple as that, and of course they want to see results. What has helped me in my client management kind of journey is putting myself in the shoes of the client. They have to feed their family. They have payroll. They have employees' lives that are that they have to not take care of, but they have to pay their employees. Some employees, their only source of income may be their job, right? Um, they have their family to feed. They have their rent to pay. They have warehouse expenses. They have rent, leases, etc. They have all these things going on. And so of course they want results. And of course they want it fast. They want it as fast as possible. If possible, they would want it tomorrow, right? So put yourself in the shoes of the client and understand them, right? Humanize this relationship, because a lot of times I feel like, especially for me, I was getting into a mode where I was just looking at numbers all day, right? Like I'm in the Google Ads account. I got like 15 clients. I'm just freaking looking at numbers all day. Clients are messaging me. I'm like, dang, I don't even want to talk to this person right now, you know? And so, but it wasn't until I was like, oh man, like, they're not bothering me, but they're messaging me, asking these questions because this is their business, like this is their baby. This is something they built, from the ground up, in certain cases, of course, like this is something that they have to feed their family with. So of course they're going to ask you questions because this is their livelihood, right? So you need to understand that especially in those first 30 days, it is very crucial to set the pace of how it's going to be going forward, right? So I always do bi-weekly meetings. In the bi-weekly meetings, I talk about, hey, this is the current performance. This is what has been done in the past, whatever the changes I made, and this is what we're going to be doing going into the future. Here's the strategy. Here's the account. I do a screen share, and and I'll say, if you have any questions or concerns, just let me know. And then boom, call's over. It's like a quick 30-minute call, but that right there helps immensely. Stay in contact with them. Don't let hours and hours and hours pass. Like, don't wait 24 hours to respond to them and stuff. So like, make sure that you're promptly responding to them, right? If they're gonna have questions, right? They're gonna have concerns. Hey, we were doing this before. Like some people just think they know Google Ads or whatever platform better than you, even though they hired you. So they may just be telling you, hey, we were doing this. You should do this, or you should do this, and you're just gonna have to be firm and just say, hey, I understand. Um, I am an expert in this. I've been doing this for blah 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 years. You hired me. Let me help you, right? Let me help you. Let me take control of this account, and I promise you, I'm doing the best of my ability, and I'm doing everything necessary to get you the results that you're looking for. There's no guarantees, but I'm 100% trying my best at getting the results that we need to get, right? So you're gonna have to really manage that client in that first 30 days. And like I said, try to go for those easy wins, right? If you can get the CPA down by 15% or 10%, that's at least showing them, hey, we're moving in the right direction. Because that's really what they want to see in that first 30 days. Are we at least like in ideal scenario, the first 30 days is about collecting data. And then in month two, that's where you start to see, are you moving in the right direction? But like I said, while we want that as marketers, that's not always going to be the case with client management, especially agency side. 100%, especially agency side. So in that first 30 days, you need to see, what can I do to get those kind of quick and easy wins, right? So like I said, even if it's decreasing the CPA by 10, 15%, it's like that's positive. That's a positive. Hey, we're moving in the right direction. Just wanted to let you know. Here's a snapshot of the last 30 days of working with us. Where CPA is down 15%. Conversions are up 5%. Whatever. I don't know. Making up numbers here. Conversions are up 5%. Looks like we're moving in the right direction. That client is going to be like, okay, cool. I'm going to give them more time. We're moving in the right direction. They're doing better than when we were stepping in. They're doing better than the previous agency, etc. I'm going to give them even more time now, right? So that is a super crucial part of when you're taking over these accounts, right? Um, yeah, and I think to summarize it up, number one, understand the client KPIs, understand their expectations, make sure that they're reasonable expectations, and just understand what you're getting yourself into working with that person and working within that, with that business's account. Number two, make sure to conduct an audit of the account, a thorough audit, look at everything and identify, is this an account that is actually based on their goals? Is this achievable, right? Like the changes that we're going to make, is this achievable for their business? Is Google Ads going to be a profitable and scalable and consistent customer acquisition channel for them, right? That's the second thing. That's what you're going to try to do and identify in your audit. And then number three is when you take on the account, make your changes gradually, make them slowly. Don't just come in there and just boom, just like wreck everything, because like you can make it could work out, right? Like I've done account takeovers where I just changed over everything and it worked out. But there are some cases I found the best strategy is to gradually move over to those changes, right? So, like I said, identify things that are not working, double down on things that are working, and look for opportunities to consolidate, right? Then, um, after you take over that account, make sure that you're staying on top of that client management aspect. Okay, try to look for those easy wins within those first 30 days. Make sure that you're communicating with the client, and yeah, just try to make them try to make them as show them that you're moving in the right direction. Right. That's kind of my tips there as far as account takeovers 101. Right. Um, I don't see anyone else here, so it's 12:30. I'm just gonna cut it here. Thank you, everyone that is going to be joining in the future. Thank you for the invisible people that joined in on here today. Um, if you ever want to join one of these, just go into the Talented Data Nerds. Let me share my screen. All you have to do is go into the Talented Data Nerds community. Once this is the page that you're going to land on, once you're on this page, you're going to head over to the calendar, and this is going to be a view of all the events that we're having. So you'll be able to click on one, and you'll be able to click on the Zoom link there, and you'll be able to join. And then, like I said, guys, thank you for watching. If you're watching on YouTube or whatever it may be, appreciate it. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. And I'll catch you guys on the next event. Peace.